Hello and welcome to a super special DCHL draft edition of the Outsider here. This is Joe Shea. We are joined with the commissioner, the worst drafter ever in the history of all things, Suds. And to balance out the awfulness of the worst drafter, we brought in the league's most famous superstar drafter here. We have Jessica Narod.
Hey, what's up?
So, all right. So for those who haven't been paying attention, we've been living under a rock for the last couple months here. Give us a quick little rundown, Suds, of what the draft division this season is, why we're doing it, and what the plan is long term.
Good question. The draft concept in the DCHL league is not a new concept. It's a concept we had 3 or 4 years ago on Sundays on DCHL itself with the X division. And the idea was to have a draft division, and that will give us variety. It'll give us a change of pace, players playing with different players, create a new concept of drafting players. Exciting there. It's a division that we had for about 2 or 3 seasons there. At the end, the players just weren't prioritized the division over the other divisions, so it kind of fell apart. So we tried to bring that back in the MDHL because MDHL is a unique format. It's a Wednesday night league, which means you only have so many teams and so many teams in the division. But the D1 division was getting a little stale. Same teams, which is good. They've all returned. But, playing the same teams, the same 3 teams over and over again in a 4-division format gets stale. We've had that for almost 2 or 3 years now. And the idea concept was brought to the board by people like Joe Fruzioni, Grandpa Joe, Old Man Joe, and Chris Thorpe, and other people as well too. And we've talked to our players because we're a very cliquey league, we're a very social league. Players don't like change in our league, but it took us about 3-4 months, probably over a year actually, to sell the concept with the D1 players to try it for a season. And thankfully, and we want to thank the D1 players, everybody else who jumped aboard and promised to support this draft division. As a result, we're going to skip D1 next season and replace that with this open draft format next season.
Okay, so that is going to be pretty exciting here. We had 70 players sign up here. We had Jake Smith break the mock draft that we did last night, signing up right after it. Apparently, he might have been outside the draft room hearing all the players getting drafted. He might have been excited. I don't know, but I think that's going to be pretty interesting here. So we're going to talk about the 5 GM / captain / whatever you want to call them here. We have drafting first overall. We're going to have Chris Thorpe, followed by Kevin Foley, Boris, Joel, and then Sumit. So
if I may, Joe, I just want to say one thing. I want to again thank the players. My doubt about this concept in MDHL was support of players. We did push this concept pretty hard, and to get 70 players as a commissioner. So I want to thank the players for all signing up. That number is a pretty good number. We were only hoping to have 4 teams. We got 5 teams plus, which is great, my personal opinion.
It is pretty great. So we've got some diverse personalities here in terms of the drafters here. I feel like, just to do my stereotyping here, I feel like we've got Chris Thorpe, he's going to be very by the book. He might be a little more formulaic than most. Kevin Foley, no idea what's going on with him. He's going to be the wild card. He might be reaching. He might be getting some steals. We don't know what to expect out of Kevin Foley. Boris, I feel like Boris might be a little more cliquey than most. I don't know. He might be drafting players he's more familiar with. He might not want to go out on a limb. I don't know. Joel, can't really say. He's going to be. I feel like he's going to put a solid team together. Sumit's the unknown. I feel. I don't know how Sumit values players. I don't know who's going where and when and why. This draft, I feel like you can mock draft 1,000 times and you still won't get close to what's going to happen.
Agreed. And I want to get Jess involved here as well too. One thing, folks, we're ensuring you're going to have 5 balanced teams. We have very tight salary cap rules, and every team is going to be within 2 or 3 points of each other. We're going to ensure that. So don't worry about who's drafting or how good they are. By putting a salary cap feature, you're going to get a good team no matter what. It's going to be about personality and who they like. Now, Jess, I want to get your thoughts on this as well, too. You know the 5 GMs pretty well. Your thoughts on the personality before I comment on the GMs we have.
All right, so let's just break it down. We'll start in the draft order. So Chris Thorpe he's a guy that's going to value like the two-way player. I think he would value a player that is more likely to back check than necessarily one who's all offense.
Agreed. Very
So
good. Yes.
he'll probably go for those well-rounded type players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great point.
Kevin Foley, I don't. See, you think Submit's going to be like the unknown. I think Kevin is definitely the unknown for me because I'm not sure. I guess I don't have that much experience playing on a team with him. I don't know.
I'll chime in here, Jess, if you don't mind here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Foley, by far, the best GM in this draft. I know this because Kevin Foley plays in my fantasy football league for 2 years. He's been involved in 2. He's won already a championship, and it's a very tough league. Our fantasy football league is, and Kevin is a great drafter. Okay, he may not be the most knowledgeable person. He doesn't play enough to maybe know all the personnel, but by far the best drafter in this group of GMs is Kevin Foley by a mile. FYI.
Okay, well, I will take your word for it because I just didn't know that. So it'll be interesting to see what his picks are.
Yes.
I think Boris definitely wants offense. He's gonna, he's gonna try to get the scoring early. That's my hunch. I mean, if he can get a good defensive pick early, he might go for that. But I think he's gonna value offense for sure. And then Joel, I definitely see him valuing like the playmakers and the guys that are going to set him up because for those big goals that he seems to make. So I think that might be Joel's strategy. And then Smith, I'm not sure. That's another. I mean, I guess there's 2 unknowns for me. So I agree with Joe.
I'm gonna go and chime in on these guys here. Obviously, I agree with you on Chris Thorpe. Two-way player. He's gonna look for bargains. I think Chris is not going to be enamored with the name player, which is what I like about Chris. He has his own system and his own beliefs, and he won't go for the name player. He'll go for who he thinks is the best, better overall team concept player. In terms of Kevin Foley, again, my only concern about Kevin is how quickly he'll learn the players. He'll do his homework. He's doing his homework. He's the best draft in his division. He'll find the values. He'll find the trades. He's a GM I would be worried about the most if I'm one of the GMs on the board. Number 3, we have Boris. Boris knows the league and players. I just don't know how good a drafter he is. I mean, about putting teams together. Is he good at putting, pairing up lines, figuring out personalities, figuring out what works best? I don't know. We know he knows personnel, but can he be a GM? We'll find out. To me, he's a wild card in my book. For Joe Horty's, he has his own people he likes, people that he feels he wants to play with. So maybe if all the GMs, he's probably more clicky than anybody else, in my personal opinion. And then of course Sumit, who has become a captain next season, as over the last month or so working with me to get his new team up in D2 running, has shown me good promise. Quick, fast learner, a very cerebral person. I think he'll be just fine as well too.
Okay, so I mean that's it's going to be tricky to see how the personalities really play in here. I feel like there's a lot of depth in terms of the draft. The field's pretty good. So, I mean, more often than not, who let the dogs out?
Remy wants to chime in too. Sorry,
Remy's got some thoughts. Okay. So, I mean, everyone's going to be, you said the cap's going to be there and teams going to be very, very close in terms of cap. So it's not like one team's just going to, have several players who are significantly, higher rated or better. So a lot of this is going to be building team synergy and team chemistry.
Exactly. And personality. Who can play with who can mesh with who. It's going to come down to that. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. In terms of, I want to ask you guys a question. Look at the draft field we have out there in terms of the players out there. Where do you think, we've got obviously goalies, we've got women players and men forward players.
We do have goalies. This is a hockey league. We're lucky to have goalies in this division.
Yes. Which area do you think that, that there might be a run early or where the depth may not be as much as we wanted? Where do you think, I don't say the weak spot, but where there's less depth in that area? Do you have an area that you feel like there's going to be a run early or not?
Oh, I do. I've simulated about 400 drafts already, Suds. So the one thing that I've found, and this is going to come to a shock. It's going to be a shock to a lot of players here, a lot of people listening, the millions, if not billions at home listening to this podcast. Offensive forwards are going to be at a huge premium. Offensive players who can score goals, huge premium here. So many play. I mean, this draft is so defense heavy. It's unbelievable. I expect top tier defenders being drafted in the later rounds because there's so many strong defensive players.
Okay, good point. Jess, what are your thoughts?
That's interesting. That's actually just I want to chime in on what Joe said. That's actually like the reverse of most DCHL related drafts that I've heard of. There's always tons of offense, and the defense is at a premium. I mean, I'm not sure if I 100% agree with that, because I do see a ton of like star forwards here. Alex, Joe, Austin, Amit. I think that there's definitely scoring here. I'm just looking and see. I think that there's
go ahead.
Here.
Go ahead.
I think that in terms of goalies, we have, there's one that stands out to me, and then there's a couple that are in the next level, and then it is not as strong after that. So I think that'll be interesting to see where they are picked.
I'm going to agree with. I kind of agree with both of you. I think I'm going with the mixture here. Yeah. I do agree that there is depth of defensemen there overall, and we've got depth defense overall to work with. I agree with that, but I think there is enough scoring there. I mean, we don't have maybe like 4 or 5 talented players, but there is some good scoring there. I think we've got enough for 2 lines across the board, so I think we're good there. My thing is, I think where this area probably is a little bit weaker than most in depth-wise is goalies, because of the fact that Mike K. Kemp was not playing. He plays D1 and MDHL, not playing next season. Adam Barrett having surgeries out. Kevin Shea moved. That's 3 of our top D1 goalies in the 14 division. That hurts when you don't have those players. So guys like Eric T, who's played D1, Jason Boyd, who's played D1, Nicole, who's played D2 and MDHL, DCHL, they have to step up. I mean, they're the ones who are going to get the opportunity to play up higher division. Ben Berger also there as well too. So this is going to be interesting in this fact that I think the goalies are depth-wise is deeper, but not maybe high in talent, in my personal opinion. Besides Seltzer, obviously, who stands out.
Yeah.
So, we're talking positions, this and that. What are your thoughts on Chris Thorpe choosing 1 overall? I think that was a catastrophic mistake on Chris Thorpe's part.
Yeah, you know what? Chris Thorpe and I, of all the people that I talked to, he and I have very similar philosophy. Jess and I have a similar philosophy on drafting players. So, Jess is the one person that I would, if I'm drafting a team, I would worry about. She and I have picked similar players, similar style. Chris Thorpe and I have a similar style of evaluating players and ratings. So I was shocked. Chris won the quote-unquote trivia lottery, decided what he wants to pick. And he picked first overall. To me, that is something that I would not want. But
that's a bold move.
I did ask him a question. I said, why? Today I talked to him today. I said, why did you pick number 1 overall? And Chris feels it's a two-person top tier draft. There's only one of 2 people you want in the top 2 picks. And he wanted to make sure he got either a first or second pick overall. And that was his philosophy. He felt that picking 5th wasn't as beneficial, 5th and 6th, as getting one of the top 2 players to draft. He felt there was a drop off between player number 2 and player number 3. So he decided to go with the top 2 pick. And obviously, him knowing Alex Ortiz, it's presumed. He hadn't said no, but I'm pretty much going to be shocked if Alex doesn't go first overall.
I've been hearing some rustling, some rumors that Chris Thorpe has been shopping this first overall pick.
Well, he was. He last night. He was doing it last night when he got the selection. Chris Thorpe badly wants to make a trade. Now we do a lot of trades in the draft, after the draft, during the draft. So Chris Thorpe wants to make at least a couple of trades. So his goal is to make some trades. He was hoping that his first pick overall can be used to spur some draft pick trades. But the GMs are pretty smart. They didn't want to commit to anything off the bat without actually looking at the draft list and figuring out what they're drafting. So nothing has materialized yet, but there might be a trade or 2. We'll see how it works out.
So this is a hypothetical, theoretical down the road. Would you allow in a league to have the GMs trade players mid-season?
With the approval of players, if all parties agree to it, we've done that. I do that in RHL. RHL is a league where we don't have salary caps yet. World Hockey League, we don't have that. So I'm the commissioner, basically a GM of all teams, but there are caps and players involved. So if a player needs to swap sides or whatever, we talk about it. And I've made 3 trades in RHL over 3 seasons. but it would require the approval of the players being traded and the captain as well too. So yes, I would be okay with it if all parties sign off on it.
Ooh, we're gonna have to have players sign some no trade clauses or open that up here. We're getting deep now. Okay. So in terms of draft strategy, we're gonna go to Jess on this one. I don't want you to give your overall draft strategy, the secret sauce that gets you all those tournament wins that you're famous for. But looking at this draft, what would your approach be?
That is a good question. Well, I have just a general approach for any draft. So I'll give away my strategy because I'm pretty confident in myself and in my ability to make it work in the future. But whenever I'm approaching a draft, I try to look at the list of players. Obviously, if there are some superstars, they're going to be the ones that you pick first.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then after that, like I try to like look at the other depth players and see
like
who's
Joe Shays.
Yes.
Like the Joe Shays.
Like the Joe Shays.
Yeah, the depth player. Like Joe Shays, yes.
And then I try to look at depth. Like what you were mentioning before. I'll see what's a commodity, where what might be valuable. Usually it's defense, and then you want to see if it's a tournament. So this is actually a little bit different. In tournaments, I find I want like a superstar scoring player, and then I want defense because they're going to be low scoring games because the games are really short.
Yep.
So this is actually a little bit different than what I'm used to. But always defense is important. People tend to forget about it and they want the flashy players, but you want to make sure that you can shut down those flashy players.
Yeah, and also let me chime in here, Jess. It's that on the tournaments you want the goalies because the goalies can steal games.
Yes.
Here over an 8 to 10 game season, if you have a good team defense, goalies can steal games, but you don't have to worry about that as much. If you have a good team drafted, goalies to me in a season long concept is worth a little bit less than in a 1 day tournament because goalies can steal tournaments. If they're armed, they can steal tournaments for you. So.
Okay, so we're gonna go. We're going first round predictions here.
Okay. I'm going to just, again, sorry to drop it. I want to chime in on Jessica's point, too. I agreed from a draft point perspective that you want to get, to me, you want to get scores the first couple of rounds because there's depth on defense here. But there are only so many scores you have out there. And if you can't score goals, it doesn't matter who's in goal. You're not going to win. Goalies don't score goals. Goalies don't play defense. So you need to get scores on board. I think first couple of rounds, I would go offense probably. I'm more often than not based on what the board's left like overall. And then obviously fill in with defense as well too. But I think you definitely have to keep two-way players in mind, look for value lower on as well too. But I think you have to go offense early and get those superstars early because you need to get those scoring purposes in place.
All right, so Suds, given the number one overall pick, actually no, we're gonna say given the Give me your top five. Give me some top five action here for Suds here. I want to know what you think. How's the top five going to play out, assuming no trades?
Well, I think the first two picks are locked in already based on what I've heard and the draft order and who's drafting. I think Chris Thorpe taking the first pick overall. It's going to be Alex Ortiz. I know Chris is very also high on Zach as well too, but he's going to take his homeboy because he's played with him before and they do all line together. So I think it's 100% done deal. Chris Thorpe will take Alex Ortiz first overall. Then obviously Kevin Fall, who didn't even know who Zach was 3 years ago, has learned quickly who Zach is, and I am 99% confident knowing Kevin and his smart drafting philosophy. He's going to take Zach second overall, which then puts a question mark who goes third overall. And Boris is the wild card. We don't know how Boris is going to view players. So that's what to me where the real draft starts. Third overall, you got players like Joe Shea there. Some people feel that a goalie's that's Teltler so far, best goalie in the draft. They're taking the first round. So I don't know if that's going to be the case here. I think that that third pick is really hard to make. I think Joe Shea has to be considered there, obviously. I'm a big Brennan fan, but Brennan comes in the package deal with Christian, so you're giving up your first, second round pick. If you take Brennan first round, do you want to do that? Do you want to give a second round pick that quickly? So that probably is a factor overall. I like some of the lower. I'm a big Austin Henley fan. I think Austin Henley should be in the first round personally. He's someone that I have on the board that should be drafted the top five if I were drafting in general. So I'm giving my strategy away there. You've got top defensemen like Brian Keefe and just La Liberté. But to me, Joe Shea has to be considered in the top 5. We don't always agree on things and players, Joe, but your talent level is there. It's questioned up, will the overall package get Joe Shea in the first round or not? Talent level, no problem there. And, I think Austin Henley goes to top 4 or 5. But you asked me to read the GMs. The GMs that I know, they'll probably go defense. So don't be surprised if La Liberté, Joe Shea, and maybe Austin goes in the next 3 picks. That's my prediction.
And Jess, you wanna echo that sentiment? You got any shockers on that one?
Well, I definitely see right now for the first, to me, definitely in there is obviously Alex, Zach, and Joe Shea. I'm not sure after that if people are gonna pick offense at that point, or if they might go with the goalie or pick defense, because there is Jason LaBerte, there's Brian Keefe, there's Abdul, there's really strong, and Brennan as well, but that's a package deal, which is another consideration.
Yes, that complicates things. Having a package deal complicates things.
Yeah, because I think once you get past the 3 superstars, there's a lot of offense that is around the same level. So you might want to pick a star defense after that.
I'm sorry, Jess, you were saying which were the 4 players? You said Alex, Zach.
Oh, it was I said the 3 offensive standouts are Alex, Zach, and Joe. There's some very good players, but there's what?
Nothing.
I'm going to turn it around to you. Let's say that you're picking 4th and 5th. Okay, it's not the way it worked out. You have 2 first-round picks. You're picking 4th and 5th, and off the board is Alex, Zach, and Joe Shea. Who's your 4th and 5th pick of the draft?
I'm trading 4, 5, and a 3rd rounder to get that Joe Shea guy.
Gotta do it. Joe Shea's not available. So.
Joe Shea is a steal at number 1 overall. Okay, steal at number 1 overall. Just saying. If I'm going 4th, I've every time the new list comes out, I keep doing a little mock draft here and there, seeing what happens. I feel
tough call. To me, it's a tough call.
I feel like a really strong goalie like Jason Stelter, which I'm going to pronounce it wrong about 1,000 times. I probably did already, just there. I think he's such a strong player, but at the same time, I see Eric Taverner playing a lot of really good games.
I agree.
I see Stelter will win you some games here and there, but Boyd and Taverner won't lose them for you.
I agree with that.
I feel like I'm torn. The goaltending is really good. So I'd be looking 4th overall.
Give me a 4th or 5th pick.
My 4th overall. This might be a little bit of a homer pick, a little bit of a shocker maybe. I would go Patrick Noyes.
Wow. Okay.
I think I've played with him a bunch. He gets a little heated at times, but when that intensity's channeled. And he's feeling it. He is one of the best players in the league, one of the most underrated players in the league.
I do agree. I think he's underrated absolutely about that. So you would take Patrick over Brian Keefe, La Liberté, and even Abdul. Interesting. Now, 5th pick overall.
Well, because I've seen Patrick play forward too. He doesn't have to play D.
But still, yeah.
He gains a lot more. He gains a lot more value over Brian Keefe and Abdul and Jason because they're all playing D almost certainly. Mm-hmm. You can put them on forward, but they're a huge downgrade. Or Patrick at forward. Patrick at forward is strong. Patrick at D is better than Patrick at forward, but Patrick at forward is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's you making a point. I think flexibility and player able to play in 2 positions is huge. I think Patrick will do that. You're right. It's a good point. Brian Keefe can do that too. People put him on defense. Brian Keefe can play good.
Yeah, I've never really seen him play forward.
People always stereotype him to defense. I know he hates that.
To do it.
He's a great offensive player. Obviously, La Liberté plays defense, but he can always play up. He's really defenseman in general. Abdul won't play defense, but that's a good point about flexibility there. So now you've got Patrick at 4th. Who's 5th?
Yeah, I like Austin to score goals, to kind of do his thing. But if I'm 5th and I'd go Jake Smith. I feel he's the kind of guy you can build a team around. You can say Puck University, Sean Miller, and back in the day Josh Lerner, and now you got Taylor, got this. Jake Smith is the kind of guy who settles a team down. He makes every right play. He goes unnoticed. Jake Smith,
absolutely
underrated.
Jake Smith is a prototypical 2-way player you want. He can play defense, offense, can score goals, kill penalties, everything. Absolutely, he's one of the more underrated players in the league, and I think more people who play with him, play against him, understand how important
Yes,
he is.
he doesn't score a lot of goals, but I swear he saves them for when he needs them.
Yes, but he scores enough to make you think about not about not leaving him open. So he's got a good shot too.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where it's at. So yeah, I mean, it could go a bunch of different ways. Do you guys have any thoughts on steals in the mid round, the late round? Who do you think might be might go a little bit later than they should?
Go ahead, Jess.
I think Austin Keach is a steal. The other Austin.
The other
for
Austin.
When you're for the more later rounds.
Yeah, Austin Keach is a very solid player.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting better. He's subbed in D2 a bunch on Sundays. He is improving. I will say that. That is very true.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone else, Jess?
Well, Chris Zupa.
Chris Zupa is.
Puck Mafia too.
Zupa's a very good player. He's getting his reps in there.
What about you, Joe?
Oh, I was gonna keep it a secret, but I mean, I know no one listens to anything I produce. So Anthony Amato, he plays rec, he plays D4, but he has the skill set to be a D2 player.
Absolutely.
It's one of those.
If you watch a lot of lower, I mean, a lot of people don't get to see or they're not there. If you're playing D1, D2 to watch rec or D4 games, Anthony Amato plays rec and D4. His speed is pretty good. He's got good hand skills. He is someone who probably should be playing D3 right now moving forward. But yes, he's someone who can move up pretty easily with his skill set. I agree with that.
Yes, I mean, it's one of those things. When I see players play rec and D4, I say, can they play D2? I said, hey, Aaron Brown, Sam Brinker, Alec Marks, Sam Shepard, Tom Siggs. I can't pronounce the last name. And I see Anthony Amato in that same mold. I think that's going to be a steal. My second steal, Trisha. Trisha, hands down. She can play either position. She's strong. She's got a good shot, physical, doesn't run out of steam. I think Trisha is, I don't know where she's going to fall on this board. But I do in my picks I do value a lot of flexibility because you want someone who can step up and play either position if need be, and I think Trisha is easily a steal.
Absolutely, I'm gonna toss a couple names out there for you as well too. I'll toss one goalie, one gal, and one guy. A goalie, I think Eric Tavernier. He is peaking. His form is peaking up correctly. He's been on a hot streak the last couple of weeks. I think he could be a great steal. People don't panic after Stelter's taken and start taking goalies. You can wait. You should be able to wait and get either, Nicole, Eric, or Jason. They're all good. But I think Eric T, maybe not as in the middle rounds, would be a good steal as a goalie in that regards. Male floor player, a steal. I mean, I'm going to go with defense here. I think Nick Mosier has become one of the better defenders in our league. And I think putting Nick on D as he's learned to play D for the Ball Hogs. He's done a good job. I think Nick Mosier, at what his salary is at, rating is.
Suds, I gotta tell you, you're right, but you're kind of wrong here. I mean, Nick's a very good player. He's not going to be a steal. I mean, the draft experts have him going very early.
Oh, like how early? Right now he's ranked in the middle of the draft. But I think there'll be defensemen taken before him that I would not take. I would take Nick before him. That's my point. I would take Nick. I would wait to draft a defenseman and wait for Nick, as opposed to take some of the higher defensemen up top.
He has some flexibility, but I mean, I expect him. I mean, I would say Nick Mosier in many draft simulations is going to be a top five round pick.
Okay, interesting. We'll see how that plays out.
You're not going to get a steal from Nick Mosier. If you've been paying attention, you know what he brings to the table.
Oh, absolutely. And I think people like you,
tough.
Myself, Jess, yourself, and Chris Thorpe, people like who play D1 or Ref D1, definitely see that. But not everybody may see that in that regards. That plays other divisions. The other steal that I had for you was for the women file. And I know she's rated pretty high, but I have her as a top 3, maybe a top 4 woman. It's Melissa Karp. I think she.
Not a steal.
Suds.
To me, she's a steal.
When you built her up, I looked over to Jess and I mouthed Melissa Karp because I knew you were going to say it.
No.
It's not a steal.
There are 7 or 8 women rated higher than her, but I would take her the top 3. Put it that way. She might be my first pick overall, second pick overall. I think people.
Suds, you know who's a steal? Alex Ortiz. You know who's a steal? Zach. You know who's a steal?
Zach's not a steal because he's definitely a first-round pick. But I think Melissa will probably may not be talking in the conversation among the top three. She could play D. She could play offense. She can score goals. She's tenacious. No. She's clean. But they're not going to be in the top three ranked
Who's the
players.
one person who doesn't know this?
No, but she. There are again. I don't want to go over names, but there are other women players who are going to be rated higher than her and above her on the draft list. She should be, in my opinion, someone who should be taking the top 2 or 3 rounds. My personal opinion.
I mean, again, the recent mock draft has her very high. Has her in the top of women picked in the top rounds. I mean, he's going off bad data, Jess. What do you say?
Well, I want to say my female steal pick because I didn't do that yet. I think it's Lindsay Hightower.
Oh yeah.
She can play offense or defense. She goes under the radar a lot of the time.
She's been getting okay. Lindsay Hightower, her big pros. She's been getting a lot of hashtags. She likes the hashtags, and someone in her family also likes her hashtags.
It's all about those hashtags.
It is. I mean, you're good when you get the hashtags. We've seen this with Emily Yox's mom.
So now going changing gear, some players that we think quote unquote are steals that probably be drafted lower than it should be. Let's go to reverse. Obviously, everybody here is good, and we go by ratings, and ratings are important because ratings measure talent. But as we all know, when you draft a team, it's not about talent. There's also personality. There's position playing, flexibility. Are they a good team player? The mojo, all that stuff as well too. All the intangibles. What player do you think probably be drafted higher than he or she should be, based upon name recognition, and not the intangibles?
Just one?
Yeah, 1 or 2, whatever you got.
I'm gonna start Alex Ortiz.
Wow. Okay. So you're saying that Alex Ortiz should not be number 1 pick overall.
No.
Tell me what's your reasoning behind that, Joe.
No, Ted struggles with sarcasm here today. No, I think one person that in my mind anyway that it might be a little overrated.
And it's not, again, let's make sure we understand this. We're not saying they're not good, but they may be drafted higher than it should be based upon the team concept, and we'll try to put together. Yeah. That's our point here. But go ahead, Joe.
This is I'm torn. I gotta go Brian Keefe on this one.
Okay.
I feel like there's too many. I mean, Brian's he's gonna be penciled in as a first or second round pick, and I feel like there's so much defense that I mean I'm going I'm going score. Okay, and I mean it's going to be Austin. It could be Brittany. Oh, Brittany is already penciled in, unfortunately.
She's on Thorpe's team. Yep.
Yes, it could be Rachel as a scorer. It could be someone like Becca. I think defenders are again buy low on defenders right now. Sell high on Brian Keefe. He's very good, but I mean the difference between a Brian Keefe and like say Adam Gehring, Nick Mosier, Brendan McLaughlin,
yes.
They're all very good. And
agreed.
I think someone might get a little hey, I want Brian Keefe. I mean, because he's got the intangibles, very good leader, calming presence, all of that. But I feel like on defenders, way too much at a premium.
Well, and to back you up on that, Joe, also as well too, is that again Brian Keefe, a great player. But if you're willing to wait, is it if you're willing to wait on a defender, do you want to take Brian Keefe in the first round? Or do you want to take Brendan in the 5th round? I mean, there's value taking with Brendan in the 5th round. So it's all about value. And you're right. Brian Keefe, better player than Brendan? Yeah. But is it that much better that you go from round 4 to round 5? Probably not. So I agree with you. I see your point there. It's all about value.
These subtleties are going to really make or break the draft.
Absolutely. Anybody else that you have that you think it might be drafted higher than the value indicates on the board? Joe or Jess?
Jess is shaking her head, so I'll go again if you want.
I don't want to participate, but there's definitely a couple people I think.
Well, I'll chime in.
I'll
chime in. And again, we talked about this early as well too. I think Stelter will be drafted way too early. Great goalie, clearly the best goalie in the draft, high-rated goalie. But because of that, people will reach too soon for a goalie. I will be patient. I think Stelter, just because of the nature of the goalie depth, people will, oh my God, if I get Stelter, I'm going to win this. That's not going to be it. You better have a good team around Stelter as well too. So I think Stelter is one of the players I think is going to probably drafted higher than they should be.
I don't know. I mean, based on the way I've been doing my mocks, I feel like another person, Matt Zekman, I've got him he'd be like a third round pick for me. I'm very high on him, but I think I might. I mean, I love the way he plays. I love his game. I like the hat. It all works for him. I don't know if his style is going to work with some other players. I love the style that he has on Blue Steel. I love the way he plays for Islanders. I'm very high on Matt Zekman, but I could be wrong on that one. I mean, I know I'd draft him in the third round. I might draft him in the second round.
I don't know if the GMs really know.
Well, that's another thing too. Yeah. Is he might actually, that's a good point. He might slip. He might.
Yeah, I think Matt will sort of see people that know him that well. I agree with you, and I love Matt Zekman. I will be one.
He might be a steal. I might be wrong.
Not in the top three. Maybe the fifth round or so. Fifth round, sixth round value, but I wouldn't put Matt because at that point you gotta pick proven players. Top 3 rounds are about proven players, or players you feel 100% are gonna make it work. You don't want to take any reaches in the first 3 or 4 rounds. Fifth, sixth round, if you need value and you find someone that on the board that's value, yes. So to me, I agree with you on Matt being a good player, and I see what you're saying about Matt maybe draft a little too high by yourself. I think he's more of a fifth round pick myself.
I got another steal for you, Joe Frew. I give him a little grief here and there, this and that. He scores so many goals. He's always in the right position. His shot's getting better. It's one of those things. Someone's going to want to draft him and wait 3 or 4 picks, and he's going to get snagged up, and they're going to be disappointed they didn't get Frew. I feel like Joe Frew's a steal. He will get drafted lower than he should, based on his performance and what he brings to the table.
How about one more question? Let's just same question again, but limit the scope even further. A lot of people here, play D1, but some don't play the lower divisions. Give me a player that that plays like D4 or rec predominantly, either MDHL or DCHL, that people don't know much about, that you think could make the jump and be a steal late in the rounds.
Jessica?
Well, I've already mentioned my 2 people.
Okay, I'm gonna say Nick Franzen.
I like that. Yes,
young.
It's
a no-brainer. Young, fast. He's strong, not hyper physical. His shot's definitely getting better. I think there's a couple areas he can look to improve on a little bit. Can't we all? But I mean, he's shooting better. He's fast. His ball handling's improving. Very two-way player. I think, if he can learn to play with his head up more, improve his passing a little bit, and keep working on his shot, I mean, I could see him, in 2 seasons be one of your, top 4, top 5 round players.
I think so. I think people are catching on to Francis pretty quickly in terms of how good he is. I'll chime in and go Lisa Burke. She's a package team with us with Mark Burke. Lisa plays for only one team, Lucky Pucks. People may not know her. She scores goals.
She's got a bunch of goals in rack. I looked it up. She had a game winner yesterday. Excuse me. She scores a decent amount of goals.
Yes. She's someone I think who jump up and play and produce in this draft division overall. And also I'm going to go off topic here. I think is one player that people may not. People I think appreciate and love, but he's always undervalued in my opinion. And that's your captain over there with the Untouchables, Tway, who I think would be probably a mid to low round pick, but I think he would do a great job on defense. So Tway could be a great value pick if you want to wait for defense later on in the draft.
One of those players like Patrick Benoit, you can put him at wing, you can put him at center for defense. Like those are really valuable.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And he's got a great shot.
Yeah, I mean, Tway's, I mean, when you look at, like, I don't know, talk too much about Untouchables here, but like when you look at the roster and it'll be like Dreamboat Joe Shea with headband John Gramlich, good as Adam Goldberg. You could be loaded up with that team, and they will lose so many games when Tway's not there. There's something about having Tway on that roster when he's there that the team is always so much better.
Oh, absolutely.
Not as dreamy, but
be
better.
Here. You've got a lot of different personalities on the Untouchables, a lot of different playing styles too. That team is almost impossible to put together and succeed long term with all the people going in different directions. Tway does a great job, talent wise and also personality wise, to make it work. So I totally agree with you on that.
I'm getting a little water there. You caught me off guard. Jessica didn't want to say anything. She wanted me called out on that.
All good.
So with all of the hype going on with the draft, I mean, I don't know if it's just me hyping it up, but long term, say this draft season goes well. Well, I guess first, what would both of you think a successful draft division would entail? What's your benchmark for success?
People need to show up to the games.
Yes. And we're helping with that. We're scheduling the games at 8:50, 9 o'clock for the most part. We should help with that, and so I think attendance obviously is very, very important. Jess is right on the ball here. If people show up and they take it seriously, I think a comparative division and number one seed not winning it, personally, I think it would be the best thing in the world. But the excitement is there. The energy is there. Having 5 teams is there. If it does well, who knows, what's going to bring the future. But I think attendance is so important, and people being patient and learning to play with each other and not get, one game season doesn't matter. Even if you start out early, the playoffs are where it matters. Get better and better. Patience and attendance are the 2 key points to me.
And you see that in your the one-off tournaments.
Yes.
A lot of the 1 seeds, the teams that do it up early, tend to fizzle out, and the teams that struggle in the earlier rounds, who are building their chemistry, who are keeping their cool, tend to it's always an upset, and there's really no shock to it at this point.
Absolutely, agree with that completely.
Okay, one little spitball thing here, and I'd mentioned it earlier, for subs in this draft division, how are sub acquisitions going to be handled?
Okay, it's a good question. I mean, there's 2 parts to this. Number one, we're going to draft 11 players per team. That'll be 55 draftees out of 70. And the reason for that is most players want to have 2 lines only. They want playing time, which we understand. We did a poll on that, and that's the way we're going to go. The majority will win on that regards. However, we're also going to go back up the draft and ask each captain to talk to their team, talk to his team, and see if they want to add anybody else, if they want to add another player or 2. If they are, then anybody who was not drafted can be added on as a free agent. They'll pay into the pot, obviously, to pay in the league, but pay in the division for the team. And they have that one option of being added on as a free agent, so to speak. Number 2, if you're not drafted or added on as a free agent, and Joe Shea came up with this concept, and we thought it through, and it makes sense, we're going to reward the players who had the courage to sign for this draft, and who may, unfortunately, not get drafted for whatever reason may be. I mean, that'd be for talent, because there's so much good talent here.
It's a big pool.
It's a big pool, and even I won't be shocked if someone who's ready to hire will get drafted because of how chemistry works out in terms of needs here and there, and there'll be probably some prizes there as well too. But if you don't get drafted and or add on by a free agency, we're going to allow you to sub. You're going to be the first call subs in this division. That's a reward to you for having the courage to sign up for the draft. And if you didn't get drafted, we'll have you sub, get some experience in, maybe get better, learn, and maybe you'll come back again next season as a draftee, as a draft register as well too.
I mean, and if you do the math, I mean, of the 70 players who signed up, 55 are going to make it. That's over 20% of the people who signed up won't make it.
Correct.
And so it's there's going to be a lot of strong players who aren't going to get picked up.
And don't take that as personal. It's just a question of how the numbers work out. I agree with that. But we want to encourage people to keep signing up. This is fun, and we want to have some new blood as well too. And I think that's the best way to reward new blood. It was Joe Shea's idea initially. I said no because I thought, hey, we don't want players to be able to, it's a playing time issue. But if it's subs only, and if it's players are missing time, the people want to reward the people who did say yes to being drafted. So we definitely want to reward them and give them the opportunity. Absolutely.
Are the captains going to be able to draft their subs after the, say, 11th round, or is it going to be done a different way?
Well, no, there's no quote unquote subs. What it is they can draft additional players to add to their roster.
Okay.
And then the remaining players are a league sub, basically.
Okay.
So if they need subs, we'll email that list first. Say, hey, look, you were part of the initial draft pool. Team X in this division needs a plug. Can you want to sub? You know what I mean? We'll give them the opportunity to sub all season long.
All right. And in terms of waiver, how's that going to work here? Because as soon as that draft ends, we're gonna need a system in here, because when that draft ends, you don't want to reward the first player to message and make a waiver claim. There has to be a system in place here.
Yeah, we talked about it already as well too. First of all, the most important thing that made clear to the captains is, number one, the players voted for a short roster. They wanted 2 lines only and a goalie. So you should not be signing anybody on unless you talk to your teams and everybody signs on to adding some more player on. That's number one. That's the number one criteria. Talk to your team. If everybody in the team says, you know what, we'll take an extra player on, fine, no problem. Then the criteria is, we can talk about it, here just briefly here, but I don't want to go too much detail here. It's got to be a certain rated player. We don't want a 7-rated player to be on a roster, so to speak. It's got to be a certain rated player that can add on beyond that. But there's no like waiver process in terms of the first player, the last, like Sumit, who's picking last, gets to go first. It's basically a free agency period, and it's first come first serve basis. And so we have it right now.
Would you consider doing it based on the overall team salary cap?
Yes, I'm open. Yes, it's something we'll talk about as probably as a caps in general tomorrow when we have the draft. How to make it fair across the board, either as team salary based on or reverse draft order, whatever works for me. I have no problem with that. We do want to make sure if there's a conflict. Kevin Foley and Chris Thorpe both want Joe Shea, who wasn't drafted. How do we make that work? So
why would either of them want Joe Shea?
So because Joe Shea wasn't drafted.
So
they want to fight over Joe Shea as a free agent. So got to figure out who's going to get the Joe Shea. It'll probably end up being the team with the more capital available in this case.
Okay. So on that note, anyone listening who's survived all of this, tune in tomorrow for the awesome pregame at 7:30. Technical difficulties avoided with Adam Marcus and Joe Shea. They're going all in on this one. It's going to be awesome, and the draft will start at 8 p.m. So, Jess, thank you for dealing with the two biggest loudmouths in the league, I'm certain.
We try to get you there, Jess. We try to get you as much as possible in there. But thanks, guys. We want to give you the listeners out there our thoughts as well, part of the grading committee members as well too, to give you our perspective on the draft itself, so you have an idea what to look for tomorrow. I hear there's a draft party tomorrow. Did you hear about this, Joe Shea?
The Gwendolonians.
Gwendolyn TV have a draft party, a viewing party on Facebook. They're going to go stream take our stream and watch it at a draft viewing party scenario, which is great. I love that. So hopefully it'll be fun for them and we can make it all work.
I know. Join the stream. Throw your comments in there. Do your thing. It'll be awesome. So Suds, we will see you bright and late tomorrow.
Yes.
All right. We'll do it up. And thanks for listening to the special Outsider Draft Edition.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks, Joe.